What's up, losers? I am Luke, and this is Luke Loses. Now, remember, when I say loser, it's a positive thing because we are losing the weight, we are losing the unhealthy lifestyle, and we are losing that negative image we have for ourselves. Like I've said before, I don't have any fitness or nutrition education. Everything I talk about here is from asking people questions, searching the internet, and my own personal experiences. Feel free to go to my website, lukeloses.card.co. That's got all my social media platforms as well as some locations where you can find this podcast. So before we get into today's episode, I do want to give a shout out to Dave Canyon. He's the host of a show called Dumbing It Down with Dave. It's a pretty awesome concept. On his way to work, he records his episodes. He kind of just talks about whatever comes to his mind, what he sees on the road. It's really something I enjoy. I commented on a post in a podcast group on Facebook, and Dave and I started talking. We started shooting some messages, and then we got into a video chat for like 2 hours. He gave me a lot of good pointers on what to do for my podcast, and I checked him out. He's got over 250 episodes. There's a lot of funny stuff in there. I found myself just playing it and binge listening to a lot of his episodes. If you get some time, go check him out. Dumbing It Down with Dave. All right, for today's episode, I did an interview with a gentleman named TJ, so we're just going to jump right into it. All right, on today's episode, I have another guest on. He said I could call him TJ since I couldn't pronounce his name. So TJ, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Taame Raharuhi. People call me TJ for short. And I'm from the Gold Coast in Australia.
I picked up on your accent. I didn't think you were from around here. So you and I met the same way that Adam and I met. My previous guest was I made a post on Facebook saying, would anybody like to come on and talk with me? So what made you decide that you wanted to come on and share part of your story with me?
It's actually my psychologist that I'm seeing at the moment. He felt that the best way for me to put myself out there was to put myself on blast on social media. I was looking for different avenues to do that other than Instagram and my personal Facebook. So I joined a couple of weight loss groups and I saw your post and I thought, what other way to share my experience than to come on and talk to you on your podcast, considering that we're both on the same journey, and we can empower each other.
That's great, man. I know you said you're down, I believe you said 87 pounds.
Yep. Yeah, that's correct. It's been hard for me to convert to pounds because in Australia, it's always used in kgs. So I've had to, lucky for me, I've had Google to do the conversions for me.
Yeah, I know when you and I were trying to catch up to where we could actually do this podcast, I think we're 15 hours different in time. So it was, Google was helping me a lot. I was like, what time is it there? What time would it be here at this time there? So we made it work. So that's good.
Time traveling.
Exactly. How's the future?
Looking grim. No, good. It's looking good.
So when did you first realize you had an unhealthy issue?
As I was talking to you before, I always realized that I had trouble with my weight from probably around 20 years old. I'd always been a bigger set person. I was actually born weighing in at 3 pounds and premature. So I caught up a lot and I surpassed everybody else and gained a lot of weight. But this time I sort of noticed it around January last year when I had to fly back for my grandfather's funeral. I needed the extra lap band for the seatbelt, and I struggled to walk out to the plane on the tarmac. Had to stop for breathers. That's when everybody started noticing I actually fell through a floorboard at the funeral. I chose to stand on the one rotten floorboard, but everybody put it down to my weight. No one really recognized me at the time. My biggest realization was September when I ended up being hospitalized due to all my problems that my weight gain caused.
Did you have to stay in the hospital, or was it just a visit kind of thing?
It was an admission. I was in there for I think just under a week, and because of Corona, I wasn't allowed any support. I had to go in by myself, so I was isolated for 7 days, dealing with that as well. It was a big shock to the system.
Yeah, on top of everything that's going on, now you got to deal with not being able to be with your wife or your family. So that, yeah, I would hate that.
Yeah, it was actually Father's Day, and my son had a rugby carnival, and the field that they play on is roughly is 100 meters. And before the game, we were parked on one side of the field, and I couldn't even walk 100 meters to where the team was set up. And then I ended up passing out that night and blacking out, coming pretty much in and out of consciousness, and they had to call the ambulance for me.
Oh, wow. I'm not sure if I've talked about this in an episode or not, but I have a 6-year-old and I've got a bad knee. And after so often, I'll have to sit down because I'll be in pain. And my 6-year-old, we were at Niagara Falls in New York, and he noticed I was in pain, and he was like, "Do you need to sit down?" And that hurt because, like, for my 6-year-old to see that, he shouldn't have to worry about that. He needs to just worry about being a 6-year-old, and that kind of shook me. So, and that's all from my weight,
That was another big one for me too.
I have the bad knee. I've, tying my shoe or, whatever. Right before I first started losing the weight this time, we were all outside playing, my wife and my 3 kids. And we were doing like a capture the flag kind of thing. And it was horrible. I walked to the flag, and then I just used my size to keep the kids at bay so I could win. But
yeah, I had the same trouble. We used to go to footy practice with my son, and I was pretty much the only dad there that couldn't participate in the father versus son touch rugby little game that they had going on. See, it hurt him, and there was nothing I could do. I could hardly walk at that time. My feet were swollen, my legs were swollen. I was short of breath, just moving my fingers. And that's when I really clicked into I need to do a change. I can't be my son's hero, and I can't fly.
yeah, I get that. My wife, she was like, "Why do you want to make this change?" And I kept saying, "For you and for the boys." And she's like, "Well, we can't be the reason that you change. You have to want to do it for yourself." And I thought about it for a minute, and I thought, I want to change for myself so I can be here for them. And that's exactly what it is I would, I want to be a better dad and a better husband. I want to be active. I want to play around with them if they want to do that. I don't want to just sit on the bench and, tell them to go play ball over there or something.
I actually I wrote that in one of my pieces, that I've lived my life on the sideline. And I've always been the opposite of that. I got used to being that reserve player. My wife would go out to the park with the kids. I'd stay home. My wife would take them out, do activities that, were physical. I'd stay home, or I'd wait in the car, or it got silly, and it's not that I wanted to. It was just an easier option.
Yeah.
I didn't want everybody else at the park to see me because of my weight. I didn't want my kids to feel embarrassed. I didn't want my wife to be seen with me because she's, little and attractive, and they're going to question why she's even with me in the first place. I must have money. I must, you know, I must do things out of the ordinary that, other husbands that don't have to do to keep her,
Yep. No, I get you. I mean, everything right there is exactly how I feel. And on that, when my wife and I first got together, I was pretty fit. I had lost a bunch of weight and my arms were big, my chest was big. I was, I was starting to get abs a little bit. And we were at a family get together and one of my cousins were like, "What are you doing with this loser?" And her joking was like, he had really big arms when we got together. And I know it was just a joke, but that instantly put me in the spiral where, like, oh man, like I was but now are you staying with me kind of thing. It's definitely a mental struggle with all this, like the not wanting your kids to be embarrassed for you. That's a big one as well. Lots of same things going on with you and I.
I was actually at the mall, and this was just after I got out of hospital, and I was so woke, as you'd like to call it, like to what was going on with me at the time, and I just saw so many overweight dads pushing their trolleys around with their kids, and they looked miserable. They were telling their kids off, and I just saw me. So that's one of the reasons that I wanted to share my experience, because I know that there's so many people out there like us, and we all suffer in silence because we're men and we're tough and we're not allowed to cry and we're not allowed to show emotions because we've got to be the alpha all the time.
Yep. So, how are your eating habits today and your daily routine, like gym work and all that? What's a normal day look like for you?
I try not to eat anything till around 10 o'clock. I try and do my workout before 10. So I'm not feeding myself and then working out and burning that off. I don't really have too much knowledge, but my workouts have just been from home. Being hooked up with the hospital, I haven't been allowed to join a gym or anything like that. So everything that I have done so far has been from inside the house. I feel safer that way. There's no one at the gym looking at me struggling to do things that they're doing as their warm up. I've been able to get the kids involved with my workout routine, which gives us a bit of bonding time. They can see their dad like actively trying his best. That's a good thing for me.
Yeah.
Just bought a new barbecue, so everything that I'm eating from at the moment is grilled. So chicken, steak, and then I just accompany that with salads. Sometimes I'll have a side of potato or anything. I'm not too excited about sweet potato, but I'm getting there. But yeah, all I do is calorie count at the moment, and the dietitian sort of just got me on the slow and steady wins the race lifestyle change, and just to be more aware of the things that I'm putting in. Swapped fizzy soda drink out for carbonated water, so I still get that sensation of fizz.
Yep.
No sugar, and now when I have a can of Coke or Fanta or anything like that, it doesn't taste right to me. It doesn't have that pull, and I find myself giving it to someone else to finish or tipping it out and going back to my soda stream bottle of water.
With the changes that we make in the beginning, it's so dramatic. It's like how do you expect me to give up my soda? How do you expect me to, like right now I'm eating about 22 to 2500 calories a day. And compared to what I was eating, that's ridiculous. How do you expect me to drop my calories by 1,000 every day and not be hungry, or sugar or whatever it is? It seems so horrible in the beginning, but now looking back, being in it for 3 months, it's like, man, it was easy. It was a struggle at first, but it's not as hard as we thought it was.
I lived my life the last few years thinking that I was too far gone. Like I thought that I was in the too hard basket and that my habits were just going to control me. And I actually became at peace with that for a while. I justified everything that I was going through. And like I estimated with my wife when we sat down and looked at it that I was sometimes eating between 5 and 6,000 calories a day with, McDonald's breakfast, lunch, dinner, big family blocks of chocolate, chocolate peanuts, 2 or 3 liters of soda, the works. Anything I could get my hands on, that was me. I smoked a lot of weed too. I gave that up to help my journey, help with my anxiety, but it doubled my depression and didn't help me with the munchies. And that's what caused my calorie explosions. I'd just munch, and I wouldn't go to bed till 3 o'clock in the morning. So from 7 o'clock at night, when the kids went to bed, I was out in the garage smoking, watching YouTube, and just eating shit every night for the past nearly 2 years. I think it's 60 kgs in a year and a half that I put on.
That's crazy with the, like you were saying, how much calories. Like, the thing is that's easy to do when you're eating at McDonald's or other fast food, or like the sodas. That's one of the biggest things for me. Like, every day I would have 2 energy drinks. I'd have 2 Monsters, have a big thing of Reese's candy. And when I went to pick up my kids from school, I'd, swing by McDonald's, I'd do like three McDoubles, or three doubled sandwiches and a chicken sandwich or two. And I mean, that right there is ridiculous in calories. It is easy to get up there in those high numbers without thinking about it.
Easy. I'd probably say that I'd be higher than 6,000, to be honest. Um, Now I'm on about 1,800 to 2,200 a day, and my resting metabolic rate is around 2,700. Plus
Yeah.
exercise, I'm burning roughly about 700 calories an hour when I exercise. Mowing the lawns for me is about 2,000 calories. So I can't wait for that lawn
Oh,
to grow.
yeah.
I actually thought that my watch was overestimating by a lot. But when I went to the exercise clinic and they strapped me up and everything, it was pretty much spot on. I think maybe 50 to 20 calories overestimation sometimes.
Oh, wow. Well, that's good to know. What kind of watch did you
Yeah.
have?
I've just got the Samsung Galaxy Watch.
Oh,
Yeah, it's
nice.
been pretty spot on. Sometimes I question it, but um, the proof was in the pudding when I went to and actually got a stress test and that done through my exercise physiologist.
What are some of your short-term and long-term goals? Like, where do you want to end up with your weight loss and your healthy living? What's the end game for you, and what are some of your goals that you have until then?
I set myself the impossible goal of being at 150 kgs by Christmas. I soon realized that I was like dreaming, but it made me evaluate and work on some realistic goals. So my short-term goals are just to keep those scales on par or lower between visits and measurement drops. I'm not too concerned in weight drop by numbers at the moment. I've given myself to Christmas this year to reach around the 130 mark. I'd be happy with around 130. 120 has been my base weight since I was around 16, 17 playing rugby.
Yeah.
So I'd be happy with 130. But if I know I'm on the right track, it doesn't matter where I'm at on the scales as long as I can see positive change. Long-term goals is just to maintain it. I actually wouldn't mind getting back in the boxing ring eventually and having another fight. I did one fight in 2012, I think it was. I had my first amateur fight, and I ended up fighting a good friend of mine, and he beat me on points. So yeah, it would be a nice feeling to be able to jump back in the ring eventually, or even do some training in the short term back at the boxing gym.
So, like I said earlier, there's a lot of connections with you and I. And I did a little bit of boxing right out of high school. And I had two fights. And my first one went pretty good. And my second one, we won't talk about it. So, do you have days where you slip up on your diet and eat something you shouldn't? Or days that you don't want to go to the gym or don't want to work out?
Ways. Some days I wake up and I'm like on top of the world, and I'll actually be a little bit disappointed after my workout because I feel like I've gone through it too easy. And then some days I just don't even want to get out of bed. Takes my kids to jump all over me to get me up, and once I'm up, I just set that interval timer and start. I don't even give myself enough time to question it. I've had a lot of hurdles lately. I pinched a nerve in my back, so I was out for a couple of weeks. My first workout back after I felt better, I did my knee and then re-pinched that nerve, I think, in my back. So I was out again for a couple of weeks, all up, and getting back into it, it felt like I was starting all over again. And some days with the eating habits, my dietitians told me, look, if you've got a craving, it's better to soothe that craving and watch your portion control than to let that craving build up into something that you're going to obsess about. So if I'm really hungry for like a McDonald's meal or something like that, I'll go and I'll have it, but I'll remove things like no salt on the chips because I have to have a low salt diet with my fluid retention. I'll get a bottle of water instead of the fizzy drink option. I'll downsize the chips, so I'll get like a small or a medium fries. I'll ask for no sauce on the burger. Just little changes, even though the bun's probably the worst part with all the sugar in it. I wouldn't be McDonald's without the bun, would it?
No.
I've had to really work on the aftermath. I feel guilty for so long after having a meal. And one thing that I have to remind myself is it'll probably only take an extra workout to reach your goal. Like if you're really trying hard 90% of the time, you should be allowed to keep enjoying those meals. And for somebody that's that kind of food often every day as part of their routine, to cut it out completely is kidding yourself. You know, if you think that you can maintain a healthy lifestyle without going back, occasionally. And you're only human.
Yeah.
Just push through.
Yeah. So with me, I don't overeat. That's all I've been really doing is if I want something, I'll have it, but I stay within my calories. So I won't, if I do go to get a fast food or whatever it may be, I just know that my dinner's not going to be as much as it could have been if I eat that now. So that's how I do it. I should start eating healthy, right stuff, but I'm not there yet. I'm not ready for it. That goes back to how easy it is once you look back. If I do it now, I'm sure I'll be thinking it wasn't that hard in a month or two.
Definitely gotten easier for me. At first, like my brain was saying, "You need, you need, you need." Now I can sit at McDonald's and watch my kids eat their meals without craving it. Like I won't even have anything sometimes when we visit there. It's like smoking for me. I can be around smokers now. I don't smoke cigarettes, and I can sit there and sit around the smoke now, but it doesn't faze me too much. It's more boredom when I feel like I've got nothing to do, and I used to just jump in the car and go and get a meal.
Yep.
That's the thing that I struggle with at the moment. So yeah, I bought a dog. I bought a dog, so now like when I'm fiending for fast food, we'll go for a walk around the block or we'll go down to the dog park and we'll get out and I'll distract myself. But if I really am craving it, I'll have it and I'll forget about it. One thing that I was doing was, because I had that daily limit of calories, if I went over those calories, I used to then transfer them to the next day, and that was a bad thing. So some days, if I went over like 400 calories, I'd remove 400 calories from the next day, and my body was starting to starve, and I just feel crap. So now, if I go on the surplus, I smack myself on the wrist and I forget about it, and I reset in the morning, and it's all a learning curve. So
Yeah. Well, if you could give one piece of advice through this whole thing to somebody that's going through the same thing that we were when we started, what would that piece of advice be?
the piece of advice from me would be to find your why. Find why you want to do it. As you said before, you can't do it for anyone else other than yourself. And to surround yourself with people that are either know your journey, that aren't gonna take you on face value, and just give it a really really good go, and to be realistic about it. It's not a quick fix, and it's a lifelong thing that we've got to readjust ourselves to. That would be my advice. As I said, I'm no expert, but
Yeah, the quick fix thing, for the longest time I was thinking, if I cut all my calories down to bare minimum, I can lose this weight really fast. But the thing is I didn't get up to 400 pounds overnight. It built from day after day of treating my body like a junkyard. So why did I think if I cut back on the calories, I will be able to lose the weight 3 times as fast as I put it on?
spent thousands of dollars on every fad. So I paid for like Weight Watchers. I paid for light and easy meals, protein like Wonder Shakes, fat burner shakes, tap out exercise DVDs that I couldn't even get on the floor to do. So hundreds of dollars to sit on the TV cabinet. Put my money into my mind wasn't ready for and my body wasn't ready for. And I've got all this stuff collecting dust in the house that no longer applies to me. At the moment, I've got $15 dumbbell set, a boxing bag that I already had, some floor mats that I bought from the hardware store, a resistance band, and an interval timer on my phone. It's produced the most results that I've ever had in my weight loss journey.
Great, man. You don't have to break the bank to try to get healthy.
Some of the people that have reached out to me, they're in because of Corona, they've lost jobs, their livelihoods, and they're living day to day, week to week, like myself at the moment. And they're like, oh, we can't afford to go out and buy all of that. At first, my approach was a bit harsh. I was like, well, cut down on your takeaways or your your cigarettes and stuff like that, and you'll be able to buy them. But then I realized, who am I to judge what people do? So I improvised. I said, well, why don't you fill up 2 empty drink bottles, and they can be the start of your resistance weights. You don't have to have dumbbells straight away. Empty milk bottles, so you can fill them up with water. There's a couple of, maybe 1 or 2 kgs worth of resistance there.
Yep.
They've got a handle on it, so you've got good grip. You can use your wall to do push-ups, and if you've got a dining room chair, that can be your exercise chair. You just got to move it over to move it back when you're finished.
Yep.
It's all about what you make of it, and you can do it. The way that I looked at it, and it's a bit silly, but I haven't been to prison, but people in prison have got the best physiques.
Yeah.
And they don't have a gym. Sometimes they don't have a gym equipment. They're locked up 24 hours a day. So body weight workouts must work, And I found using my own body weight, I'm getting stronger. I'm getting fitter. Yeah, it's working.
So talking about the prison workouts, my buddy and I, what we used to do when we were at work, we would take a trash bag and he would hold it down and I would grab the middle and curl up. So I was curling what he was holding down, and that was a great workout. We called that a prison workout. And I don't know, you might be familiar with him since you're across the pond, but Charles Bronson, he was like England's most infamous criminal.
Okay, no, I'm not. Yeah.
With him, he's got a book out. It's like a workout book, and it's straight prison workouts because he was in prison most of his life. So he's like, his warm-up, he talks about you're going to do 25 handstand push-ups against the wall. That's your warm-up. And it's like, what are you talking about? Like, there's no way I can do one, let alone 25 for a warm-up.
Got to get the handstand going.
Yeah.
I'd go through the wall.
So if someone listens to this podcast and wants to reach out to you or follow your journey on Instagram, where would they be able to find you?
Yeah, Instagram name is your boy Tizzle. It's spelled YA_BOII_TIZZLE. That's just where I do my journal. I'm a member of the weight loss group, so you can find me on there and send me a message. I've actually been messaging a couple of dudes from the group at the moment that are in Australia, so it's been good to build a little community. And there's also a private group chat for some of the members that I've been a part of. But yeah, you can follow my journey. I'm not an expert. I'm willing to give my advice out for free without any agenda. I just want to see us all prosper. I'm big on advocating for healthy lifestyles now, with especially with fathers. We're our kids' heroes, and we've got to stick together because only we understand our troubles.
Congratulations on your weight loss, and keep it up, man.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. It's been an experience. I was actually really nervous about it, but you've made it nice and calming, and the conversation's flowed, bro. So well done to you. Well done on your journey, and round 2, we'll do our updates. Thanks, bro.
Yes, sir. All right, man. Well, thank you again. You have a good day. And again, congratulations on your loss.
Cheers. Thank you.
All right, so that is it for this episode. TJ, I really appreciate you coming on here. It was a bit of a hassle trying to meet up with you with us time traveling and all, but I'm glad we got it worked out. I love talking to you. I cannot wait to see your progress for the future. I'm definitely going to be checking up on you on Facebook and Instagram. Keep up the good work. Congrats on your loss so far, man. For those of you that want to follow TJ's progress, I will leave his Instagram in the description of this episode. For those of you that are interested in the Facebook group that we spoke about, it's called Weight Loss Support Group for Men. As for my weigh-in today, I'm a little nervous. So as I've said before, I do step on the scale quite often, and I know I shouldn't. and I know where the scale was pointing earlier this week, so I'm nervous to see where it's at today. I haven't been overdoing my calories in my app, but I haven't been measuring and weighing out my food. I've been just guessing my servings. So if I'm off, I know I'm off, and I know why. Let's step on the scale. All right, so it says 369 pounds. So that is 1 pound more than I was last week. Like I said, I know what it's from. I'm disappointed, but there's nothing I can do about it now. I'm going to put my head down and push again. I also, a couple weeks ago, mentioned going back to the gym, and I haven't really made time to do that yet. I haven't tried a whole lot. Hopefully tomorrow, when this gets released, I will be in the gym at that moment. So thanks again for listening. My website is lukeloses.card.co. That is CARRD.co. Feel free to shoot me a message for any reason, whether it's tips, topics, concerns, whatever. I'll get back to you. So thanks again for listening. Remember, do the work, trust the process, and I will see you next week.